What's up, guys? Today we're betting on another press briefing, another Caroline Leave It. She's speaking today, and God knows how many minutes. This is a little quick turnaround because roll call updated yesterday that Caroline was speaking. Caroline with a K. I didn't spell it with a C, did I? I don't think I did. Caroline with a K, KKK as we love to call her, is speaking today. No green today. Just woke up. I got the green suit, but it's a bit cold to put on the suit where I am. I've got a little Israel because of what Moonlight posted and the ideas. The roll call is Donald Trump is speaking with Israeli hostages right after. Donald Trump's social media archive. No. Let's see roll call public schedule. Yeah, the president meets with freed Israeli hostages right after. So I've got a little bit of Israel, a little bit of terrorist for those two reasons. If she references that hostage meeting at all, she should hit those two. Technically, Israeli can't count for Israel, but I think Israel would hit anyways. And then, like, the biggest ones I have is no clean CR. I got that at 68 cents. This has been a going down strike. It's been going down as the shutdown's been ending. If she talks about the shutdown, I don't expect her to say clean CR at whatsoever. This is something she was saying while it was shut down and not like while it's open. If anything, she'll say like the government is open again. Trump's reopened the government. And then no filibuster for similar reasons that the shutdown is over. I mean, there's a chance she goes, we've ended the filibuster, but I feel like that would have been for last press briefings conference, not this one. So that's all I have. I don't have that much. I really don't have that much for this Caroline. Other stuff like Thanksgiving. I could run back Thanksgiving, but I got cooked on it last time. No pun intended. No turkey. Let's see if we get Caroline. Come on. Thankful for Galaxy. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thankful for this Thanksgiving. I like hoax. Can't even see it. I like hoax. I mean, if she's saying Epstein, she's going to say hoax, right? That they've ended the Democratic hoax. The Democratic Epstein hoax. Trump's ending it by signing the bill. Cool, Caroline. What's that on the? How long will she be late? She's hit 20 minutes. Above 25. Bonded toward no. Here we are.
In my remarks, she's going to speak.
I don't know how many we're gonna hit.
And Second Lady Usha Vance traveled to Marine Corps Air Station New River and Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, where they spent the day meeting with students, educators, military families, and United States Marines. Both the First Lady and Second Lady were grateful for the warm welcome and remain deeply committed to supporting military families and the community.
I think hoax is good value, James.
Our great nation. May God bless all of them. In
Like,
economic
especially
news,
an Epstein
the September
question.
jobs report showed the American economy remains strong, with 119,000 new jobs added, more than double expectations. These gains came after the summer passage of President Trump's historic tax cuts and multiple big trade deals with countries around the world.
Cool.
In particular, construction jobs surged by 19,000 in September,
Which
the largest
countries
monthly
in particular?
gain in a year. Nearly all of this solid monthly job growth came from the private sector and went to Americans rather than foreign-born workers, the opposite of what we saw under the previous administration.
Oh,
Inflation
no Biden.
also remains under control.
Oh,
and
there's
wages
inflation.
Are up by 3.8%.
Let me refresh.
Because of President Trump's pro-growth policies. In fact, real wages are on pace to increase roughly $1,200 for the average worker this year under President Trump. This is a complete reversal of the
maybe
failed
terrorist
Biden
doesn't
era
hit,
when we saw
or
inflation
Israel, one of those.
skyrocket to 9%, causing private sector workers to see their wages decline by approximately $3,000. We know that Americans are still hurting from the 4-decade high inflation caused by Joe Biden and the Democrats. But President Trump is making significant progress to fix this, and he will not stop working until he solves it. As the president recently stated, he is never satisfied. For example, President Trump's policies are working to make Americans' Thanksgiving more affordable this year.
There's
From
the
their
Thanksgiving.
commute to the dinner table.
There's the
Nearly
affordable.
100 million Americans are expected to drive next week to spend time with loved ones for the holidays.
There's the
And
Thanksgiving.
thanks to President Trump's drill baby drill agenda, the national
I didn't
average
get
price
on
for a gallon of
Thanksgiving because it
gas
cooked
on
me last
Thanksgiving
time,
Day
bro.
is projected to be at the
But
cheapest price since the COVID pandemic in 2021.
there you go.
President Trump is bringing down gas prices and providing significant savings to American families at the pump. And again, we expect those prices to continue to decline. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation's annual survey, cooking Thanksgiving dinner will also cost
Double
less
Thanksgiving.
this year than it did last
Oh,
year.
she
and
can't
is
spam
down
it too
about
much. It's gonna
5%
get to
overall.
99
The
next
average
week.
price for a staple of the meal, a 16-pound frozen turkey, is
Turkey!
down more than 16% from last year, which will provide critical savings for families and their budgets. President Trump's entire economic agenda is aimed at putting more money back into the pockets of hardworking Americans. That's why he signed the largest middle tax cuts in history into law, from no tax on overtime, no tax on tips, to no tax on Social Security. And according to a new study from Piper Sandler, which is out this week, tax filers can expect an extra $1,000 bump to their tax refund next year, and what could be a record-breaking tax refund season. So there is more good news to come. We know these refunds will make a huge difference for Americans.
They never
to
say
help pay down
stimulus,
their
do they?
bills and use towards life's expenses. In other news this week, President Trump took a significant step toward delivering on a core campaign promise to finally close the Department of Education. To shrink the
Department of
bloated federal
Education.
bureaucracy, the Department of Education just entered into new interagency agreements with 4 agencies: the Departments of Labor, Interior, Health and Human Services, and State. These agencies will now ensure the delivery of legally required programs while also refocusing them to better serve students. This common sense action brings the Trump administration much closer to finally returning education where it belongs, at the state and local level, not in Washington, D.C.
She'll say illegal
The
alien.
Democrats' reckless 43-day government shutdown did
Shutdown.
manage to do one valuable thing. It proved that America does not need a federal Department of Education. During the longest shutdown in history, the Department of Education furloughed 90% of its staff, and America's education system was not impacted whatsoever. Schools
America's
stayed fully
education
open
system
from
wasn't impacted by
Students
90%
attended
of workers
class
being
and received
furloughed.
normal in-person
Really?
instruction, and our
Not
wonderful
impacted whatsoever.
teachers received their paychecks uninterrupted. The Democrats' government shutdown made it painfully obvious that American families
Or
do
they
not
shut down
need
for
the
illegal
Department of
aliens.
Education. Since its
Healthcare.
creation in 1979 during the Carter administration,
She's dodged
the
it,
Department
though,
of Ed has
so far.
spent over $3 trillion taxpayer dollars
She hits her
without
trillion.
improving student achievement. Despite pure pupil spending having
He hits her
increased by
trillion.
more than 245% since the 1970s, math and reading scores are down in public schools. In fact, the most recent Nation's Report Card from 2024 showed that 13-year-olds' math scores are the lowest they've been in decades, and their reading scores are the lowest since testing began
Good luck,
more
James.
than 30 years ago. It's clear that throwing more money at a broken system does not work, and that's why President Trump appointed the amazing leader behind me, our Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, who is making these monumental changes.
Is that Vince
at the
McMahon's
direction of
daughter?
The president. We're very grateful to have you here today to talk about these changes and then take some questions. Hopefully folks in this room will have some questions on the very important topic of education. So please, Mrs. Secretary.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Caroline. It's
Gonna
really a
get
pleasure
the
to be here with you today,
education
and thank all of you
lady
for being
to
here as
speak.
well. My purpose here is to speak directly to the American
gotta turn off
families,
kick
not
vomit-
just you, but
kick-
to the
kick
American
comments.
families about the work this administration is doing in education.
This is all
To
bots.
reverse our national decline with
Wonder how
a
you do that.
hard reset of our educational system. That reset was a top campaign promise from President Trump to send education back to the states and end Washington's micromanagement of education once and for all. This week we took the most decisive steps thus far to make good on this promise to you. We have linked 6 groundbreaking partnerships with other federal agencies to delegate education department programs that are redundant with existing programs at Labor, State, Interior, and HHS. These interagency agreements to cut our own bureaucratic bloat are a key step in our efforts to shift educational authority from Washington, D.C. to your state education agency, your local superintendent, your local school board, entities that are accountable to you, and we encourage parents to always be involved. Cutting federal bureaucracy is never a popular move among D.C. insiders. A chorus of anti-Trump voices have come out of the woodwork to complain that we are defunding education, harming students, or acting without a plan.
I don't
This
know
could
what's
not
gonna
be
hit
further
at
from
this
the
point.
truth. The majority of Americans
Maybe
across the
China?
country handed to President Trump the
Maybe
popular
China.
vote precisely because they have seen the brokenness
Yeah, too
of
many
a
bots on
top-down
Kickstarter.
education system run by
That
the
might all
federal
be bot.
government. They're painfully aware that only 3 out of 10 students can read proficiently at their grade level. They know that college students are collectively $1.7 trillion in debt, and less than half of
There you
college
go.
graduates get a job that actually uses the degree which they studied so hard to get.
I know I didn't.
They see more teachers than ever before leaving the profession.
Yeah, I got a
due to
finance
burnout,
degree, so
over-regulation and lack of autonomy in the classroom.
it's like half and half.
Anti-Trump voices are stirring up fear that returning
She still hasn't hit
education
New
to the
York or
states
mayor
is a
yet. They
draconian
haven't talked
action.
about Trump
When
gonna meet
Americans
Zoran
hear
tomorrow.
that we are shutting down the department, but given no other details, 51% oppose it. But when those same Americans are informed of our plans to preserve important elements of our work in other federal agencies and to maintain the K-12 funding that is distributed to the states, that number flips to an even greater majority at 56%. They support returning education to the states and breaking up the bureaucracy. That's because the Department of Education is a pass-through entity. It doesn't educate a single student. The money
Get
it
Caroline
sends
back
to
on.
education can be sent directly
I like how
without
Caroline
waste.
asks. I hope we have
Democrats'
questions
government
related to the
shutdown proved it
education
without a doubt.
topic.
Now,
That's so
I'll reiterate
important.
what you said, that the Department of Education was not necessary during the shutdown. Now, this is what I've seen already on my 50-state tour that I've embarked on. Educators are innovating in their schools. States are customizing their budgets and standards, and post-secondary institutions are planning for the economy of the future. But we're not leading them. They are informing us. That's why our final mission as a department is to fully empower states to carry the torch of our educational renaissance. Education is local. It should be overseen locally by those who best know local needs. We're not ending federal support for education. We are ending federal micromanagement and paving
Federal
the way for
micromanagement
education
on
renewal
education.
through
is
state
over.
reforms like school choice, the science of reading, and
All
restoring
right.
right priorities in higher education.
I want Caroline to get pissed off by
President
someone
Trump
just
promises
immediately
send
asking
education
a
back to
Epstein
the
question.
states,
That would be so
and
funny.
We're keeping that promise. America's next generation will look back on the work we've carried out.
Yeah,
thankful
no one gives a
for
fuck about
education
Department
system
of
that
Education.
prioritizes
Tell us about the
students
Epstein
over
files.
bureaucracy. Thank you.
That would get Caroline so
Madam
pissed. She'd hit
Secretary,
stupid
and we'll take
question.
some questions for the secretary if you have them. Elizabeth, why don't you start?
Thank you for joining us. You announced the partnership to move some functions of the Education Department to other agencies. Are you talking to members of Congress about codifying this so that it lasts beyond the administration?
Yes, we started our conversation, and thanks very much for asking that, because there have been some reports that Congress is in the dark on this. That's clearly not true. We've been talking.
This isn't Caroline.
Talked to dozens
Come
of
on.
members of Congress to
Get her back up
explain to
there.
them exactly what we're doing to bring them up to speed, and to say to them, look, when we have completed some of these transfers that are working incredibly well, then we will be looking to Congress to codify those, make them permanent.
Brian.
Thank you. Secretary McMahon, what is the update on the negotiations with Harvard? I know the president has publicly pointed to you as somebody who's worked on that. I think you've talked about that at length, but I'd like to understand where are things with those negotiations with Harvard at this time?
They're ongoing negotiations, and I feel very comfortable
Harvard.
that we are getting close to having those negotiations finalized. It's been open door conversation all along.
Deanna.
Hello, Mrs. Secretary. The President recently posted about establishing a federal standard for AI. Do you know if the administration has a view on the use of AI for students in schools? And Caroline, do you know if the President personally uses AI?
Yeah, he does.
I don't think so.
You can
I've
handle that
never
one.
witnessed it.
He
but I think
does
that's
on the White
Well,
House
I
Truth
do
Social.
think AI is going to need guardrails, but I have witnessed
On his
AI
own Truth Social,
firsthand.
he posted a video of him and
was at the
Ronaldo
Alpha School
AI
in Austin,
playing
Texas,
soccer.
and the
So.
first 2 hours of every day in that school.
Unless you're
students are
telling me
learning
someone else runs that
through
account.
AI, they have their headsets on, they're in front of their screens, and the AI
That's
is
not
really
Trump.
acting as like an individual tutor for those students, allowing those students that can progress faster to do that. Those who need a little catch up, it refeeds information to them, and so after those 2 hours of learning, the basics of what they're doing in their curriculum that day, then they spend the rest of the day, I mean, they have good recess and all of that time, but then they spend the rest of the day in what are called life skills, and they're actually using the information that they've learned this morning. So I've seen some AI in action that is really proving quite beneficial.
Michael.
Thank you, Caroline.
Pro
Secretary
AI.
McMahon, as the Education Department continues to pare down, can you talk about taxpayer
Education
services
Department
like,
questions, man.
charter school grants, and how
She's got to hit Israel, though.
the department will continue to assist kids with
Don't
special
think we'll get
needs?
there.
Well, we are going to make sure that there's no interruption in getting that grant money out the door. I mean, that money is, it comes from Congress, it's appropriated by Congress, and we legally are obligated to do that. And the transitions we're starting to make, our first programs that went over to the Department of Labor, that was a few weeks ago. We actually signed the first interagency agreement, which we accomplished under the authority of the Economy Act. We transferred grants for WIOA and for.
Wow, is Caroline like kind of tweaking on the
And,
side? Chill
the
out, girl.
really good news is that the Department of
She's
Labor
mad, she's not
has
talking.
a much more sophisticated system, technology system and grant fulfilling system than the Department of Education does. As a matter of fact, our executive manager that went over with that group over to labor said he would compare what the labor system is to education's like held together by bubble gum that is not connected to any other part. So we were able to get those grants out the door more smoothly in states
What
have
is this lady
actually
talking
better
about, man?
access
What's she yapping
for
on,
those
man?
systems than they do at the Department of Education. So that's a real bonus.
We know the Department of Education's a scam. We already know that.
As part of the diversity, equity, and inclusion
That's why they're deleting it.
regulations that came out from the administrations, a lot of schools, whether high school or even higher education is concerned, some of them are defying these new administration policies, even apparently according to a new report.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Rick.
As far as there's been a new report from the administration saying that half of medical schools are defying the administration when it comes to DEI policies. What type of action will the administration take for these schools that are defying the new DEI policies?
Well, certainly the
Define
President has been
DEI.
very clear, and the Department of Education has taken measures to make sure that as schools are developing, their policies, or if they have open DEI offices, they're closed, or DEI regulations and rules are stripped, from their programs, and so that will continue.
Great. We'll take one more. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline.
Don't take one more.
Secretary
She wants to
McMahon,
get to her.
My question is,
Go.
since you said 3 out of 10 students are literate with regard to their reading capacity, would now the states help to improve those numbers since you have gone back to the states?
Well, what we are finding, that the states that are making great progress It's through
All
their
right,
own
get her off.
innovation. It's not coming from the
Get her
Department of
off. Get
Education.
Caroline
I think,
back on the hill,
you know,
man.
The Department of Education is really misunderstood about what our function is.
Don't know if
We don't
she's
teach
prime
one
time.
student. We have nothing to do with the curriculum that are in any states. We are a pass-through pathway from money that's appropriated by Congress to get, to the states. But what we have seen in those states that have taken that initiative and they are embracing the science of reading and returning that into their school programs. Louisiana has done it. Mississippi, they call it the Mississippi Miracle, because they were like, I think, bottom or next to last in reading proficiency in Mississippi. And now they're like middle of the pack, which has been a really big jump. Florida has, Iowa has, Tennessee. So, but these are innovations that are done at the state level. This is not anything we're dictating, and that's why I'm saying returning education to the states where they
Get
really
off.
are already
Get
leading
Caroline
in
back
their
on, man.
education endeavors. And 90% of their budget they provide. The federal government only provides 8 to 10% of the budget for education. So let's make sure that that grant money that's coming from the federal government is getting in their hands as efficiently as possible and getting to students. We don't want teachers having to spend their time and money in regulatory compliance. There was one superintendent chief who said to me that
You think she still
they had
talks
done some
about
calculation
Zoran
in their
and the
state
mayor?
and that
New
for
York
every dollar
mayor?
that went into the classroom in a grant, 47 cents
I mean,
was
they're
spent
ready
in
for a
regulatory
meeting.
compliance. So let's
That'll be
get the
fun.
money into the hands of our students and our teachers. Let's raise the level of education. The other thing I'll do, and I'll quickly wrap up for you, is this 50-state tour that I'm
gotta quickly
have
wrap
embarked
up.
on. We've done about
Even
14
Caroline's
states.
like,
We've
come on.
shut down a little bit during the shutdown. But what I am doing is visiting different kinds of schools, grammar schools, middle schools, high schools,
Grammar school.
micro schools, private schools, charter
Micro
schools, the whole
schools.
gambit. And in the end, my goal will be, as we step away and fully deliver education back to the states, is to provide them with a best practices toolkit of all of the things that I have seen around the country to say, hey, this is working. Check with these superintendents, check with these governors. And you know what I found a little bit is governors are a little competitive. So it's kind of nice to give some of these best practices out there. It'll work because it's already working. If we leave it with the people who are closest to the students, the president believes, as do I, the best education is that's closest to the child, and parents' involvement is critical to the success.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Linda.
It's a
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your coming
All right.
today. Thanks for your great work.
Whoops.
And
There you
she's
go.
very much.
a busy lady, so we'll let her
Come
get
on.
back to work. All right. Thank you again. Well, let's get to it. You guys were so calm with her. I wish you were that calm with me. We'll kick off with our new media seat, as always. Javier, why don't you start us off, and then we'll get to the rest of the room. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Javier Negre. I'm from Spain. I'm the owner of the biggest media platform in Hispanic politics, with brands like La Derecha Diario, Ida TV, or UH and Plus, or Vice
Got the Spanish guy.
And I'm happy to be here. Thanks for supporting the new media, also in the Hispanic community. We try to fight against media like Telemundo, Univision, CNN, or NBC News that are spreading fake news and attacking the ICE operations. We will premiere this Sunday the Real America's Voice, the Rainy Show, the first Hispanic show against communism and woke culture that is promoted by people like George Soros to bring communism all over the world, like happened in New York. I have two questions for you, if you don't mind. In Mexico, the young people is protesting
Mexico
against
question?
President Sheinbaum. They think she's doing nothing against the cartels.
Cartel
Sheinbaum used
question?
the police to attack them,
Good for
young
terrorists.
people, kids, girls, and she's attacking journalists like me in a country where 150 journalists have been killed in the past years. The USA legacy media is attacking President Trump for his comments about the fake news media, while they are not publishing anything about the murders of journalists in Mexico. Why do you think they stay silent about the murders of journalists in Mexico and the attacks to businessmen like Ricardo Salinas? And my second question is, Trump said he has a plan for the narco state of Venezuela. Does he have a plan for Mexico where, according to Stephen Miller, the cartels
All right,
are
hit
controlling
terrorists here, Caroline.
governments and territories?
Sure. Well, thank you, Javier, for the question, and thank you again for being here. We're proud to have new media voices in the briefing room. As for President Sheinbaum and the president's relationship with Mexico, I will tell you that we have seen historic strides from
President
President Sheinbaum and her administration in Mexico when it comes to cracking down on the cartels. They have been incredibly cooperative with the president's efforts at our southern border to crack down on illegal immigration and also the illegal trafficking of drugs at the southern border.
Wow.
Now the president is very interested
Dodged
in
illegal
taking
alien.
additional measures against the drug cartels. He's been very clear about that. He's spoken about it, and this is a promise that he made to the American public. And so his national security team is discussing these options all of the time. And on the campaign trail, the president promised to take on the cartels. He has taken unprecedented action to do so, and he has left additional options at his disposal on the table. So those are only decisions that the president can make. Thank you.
What about the silence of the legacy media about the murders of journalists in Mexico? 150 journalists have been killed in the past years.
Yeah, well, it's certainly something I wish the media would report on more, and it's something that this administration absolutely condemns. I can't speak for the media, but I can speak for the president. That's not something he wants to see.
She missed terrorist there, probably.
Thank you, Caroline. Is there anything
Maybe we
that
get more
Mayor-elect
border question.
Mamdani could say tomorrow that would ease the president's
Here we are.
concerns about his future leadership in New York?
Look, I don't want to speak for the president or get ahead of this meeting that we are currently working on tomorrow. As you saw, the president put out a statement tomorrow that the mayor-elect will be coming to the Oval Office, and so our teams are arranging those details. I won't get into the president's thinking on it. I think you'll all hear from him directly. I also think I will just add, it speaks volumes that tomorrow we have a communist coming to the White House because that's who the Democrat Party elected as the mayor of the largest city in the country. I think it's very telling, but I also think it speaks to the fact that President Trump is willing to meet with anyone and talk to anyone and to try to do what's right on behalf of the American people, whether they live in blue states or red states or blue cities, in a city that's becoming much more left than I think this president ever anticipated in his many years of living in New York himself.
I got 1,000 shares of no mayor just because she said mayor-elect. I don't know if she hit New York otherwise, but mayor-elect is a closed compound. Like this. Right?
No.
Mayor-elect?
Let's be clear about what the president is
closed compound?
Because many in this room want to talk about the president's response.
Has she hit New York otherwise?
Brought the president to responding in this way. You have sitting members of the United States Congress.
I can't even talk about it.
To orchestrate a video message to members of the United States military, to active duty service members, to
Does mayor-elect
members
count?
of the national security apparatus.
She might have hit New York or mayor otherwise, but
the president's lawful orders. The sanctity of our military rests on the chain of command. And if that chain of command is broken, it can lead to people getting killed. It can lead to chaos. And that's what these members of Congress who swore an oath to abide by the Constitution are essentially encouraging. We have 1.3 active duty service members in this country. And if they hear this radical message from sitting members of Congress, that could inspire chaos and it could incite violence and it certainly could disrupt the chain of command. These three members of Congress, I will also add, knew exactly what they were doing. You look at Alyssa Slotkin. She's a former member of the CIA. Mark Kelly was a captain in the U.S. Navy. Maggie Goodlander was a naval officer, and notably, she is also the wife of Joe Biden's national security former advisor, Jake Sullivan. And so these members knew what they were doing. They were leading into their credentials as former members of our military, as veterans, as former members of the national security apparatus to signal to people serving under this commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, that you can defy him and you can betray your oath of office. That is a very, very dangerous message, and it perhaps is punishable by law. I'm not a lawyer. I'll leave that to the Department of Justice and the Department of War to decide.
But the president has frequently, but Caroline, can I just follow up? The president and the vice president, for that matter, have accused the other side of encouraging political violence. Isn't that exactly what the president is doing when he says that members of Congress should be killed?
Why aren't you talking about what these members of Congress are doing to encourage and incite violence? They are literally saying to 1.3 million active duty service members not to defy the chain of command, not to follow lawful orders.
Every single can refuse an illegal order, which
but
is
they are.
She's gonna rage quit.
They're suggesting
she's getting mad. She's gonna rage quit.
The president has given illegal orders, which he has not. Every single order that is given to this United States military by this commander-in-chief,
Dude, she's gonna
and through this
quit. She's getting
chain of
mad.
command, through the Secretary of War, is lawful. And the courts have proven that. This administration has an unparalleled record at the Supreme Court because we are following the laws. We don't defy court orders. We do things by the books. And to suggest and encourage that active duty service members defy the chain of command is a very dangerous thing for sitting members of Congress to do. And they should be held accountable, and that's what the president wants to see. Phil.
Thank you. Ambassador Mike Huckabee
She's a little
had
mad.
meeting with Jonathan Pollard, a former U.S. citizen who was convicted and spent 3 decades in jail for selling state secrets to Israel. Did the White House know that meeting was going to happen? Does the administration condone it?
The White House was not aware of that meeting, but the president stands by our ambassador, Mike Huckabee, and all that he's doing for the United States and Israel.
He said that the president was going to do what was right for
Israel,
regardless of whether they lived in blue or
see
red
in Valhalla,
states.
brothers. Let's go.
In tomorrow's meeting with Mayor-elect Mamdani,
Israel.
Be able to convince the president to abandon.
Let's see if she gets
that
New York or
promise to
mayor
cut off
here.
federal funding to New York City.
Look, Phil, we'll see how the meeting goes tomorrow, and I'll let the president speak for himself.
Oh my God, she dodged everything. Yo, does mayor-elect still count for mayor?
Look,
She's probably not going to say illegal
very
alien
frank
stuff.
and honest with everyone in this room. You've all seen it yourself.
If it doesn't
You've all
count, I'm
experienced
fucking
it
cooking.
yourselves, and I think
I got
it's
1
one
cent
of the
shares
many
of
reasons that
New York,
the American
but
people reelected this president because of his frankness, and he calls out fake news when he sees it. He gets frustrated with reporters when you lie about him, when you spread fake news about him and his administration. But he also is the most transparent president in history, and he gives all of you in this room, as you all know, unprecedented access. You are in the Oval Office almost every day asking the president questions. And so I think the president being frank and open and honest to your faces rather than hiding behind your backs is frankly a lot more respectful than what you saw in the last administration, where you had a president who lied to your face and then didn't speak to you for weeks and hid upstairs and didn't take your questions. So I think everyone in this room should appreciate the frankness and the openness that you get from President Trump on a near daily basis.
And
go ahead.
Let's follow up.
Yes.
The Washington Post just reported that the Coast Guard has
I'm calling on Bloomberg. Go ahead.
Caroline,
thank you.
2 questions for you. The New York Times is reporting that the administration is now sending a U.S. official to the G20. They're sending Mark Dillard. Can you confirm if that is true, and then also explain the shift in?
I'd be happy to explain, because there is not a shift. The United States is not participating in official talks at the G20 in South Africa. I saw the South African president running his mouth a little bit against the United States and the president of the United States earlier today, and that language is not appreciated by the president or his team. The ambassador
or his team,
or the representative of the embassy in South Africa is simply there to recognize that the United States will be the host of the G20. They are receiving that send-off at the end of the event. They are not there to participate in official talks, despite what the South African president is falsely claiming.
On Ukraine, there have been reports that President Zelensky
we're gonna have to see if this mayor thing is still holding up, bro.
Looking to look at the plan that there's been reports about the Trump.
That's what I'm looking at right now.
Can you just give an update on where Russia-Ukraine stands, and does the president plan to speak with Zelensky?
What's up,
So I'm happy to provide an update. I've seen quite a bit of reporting on the latest with Russia-Ukraine, so let me clarify and give you guys the truth on where it currently stands. President Trump has made it very clear since day one, and even on the campaign trail, that he wants to see this
When's
war
Epstein gonna come in?
He's grown increasingly frustrated with both sides of this war, Russia and Ukraine alike, for their refusal to commit to a peace agreement. But nevertheless, the president and his national security team are steadfast in seeing this war come to an end, to end the killing and deliver on the president's promise. Special Envoy Witkoff, that Marco Rubio, have been working on a plan quietly for about the last month. They've been engaging with both sides, Russia and Ukraine, equally to understand what these countries would commit to in order to see a lasting and durable peace. That's how you get to a peace negotiation, right? That's how it worked with Israel, with respect to Israel and Gaza and all of the Arab countries in the Middle East. That's how we accomplished that historic agreement, which the UN, by the way, voted to commit to and accept this week, which was a huge monumental moment. So they have been engaged with both sides. And these talks are continuing. As always, I'm not going to litigate the details of this plan as it's ongoing and it's in flux, but the president supports this plan. It's a good plan for both Russia and Ukraine, and we believe that it should be acceptable to both sides, and we're working very hard to get it done. And I'll also add, I know Secretary Driscoll did meet with President Zelensky today. We spoke with him. He was very optimistic following that meeting, and so again, we are having good conversations with both sides with respect to ending this war. Sure.
She hit Israel there.
Ukraine. You said this is a good
Another
plan.
Ukraine question.
According to our sources, this proposal demands major concessions from Ukraine and doesn't demand much from Russia. So was Russia involved in drafting
Your
this?
understanding is wrong. Have you read the full plan? You haven't.
Sources says.
Yes.
So if you can give details,
You've read reporting from one side of the war, and so I want you to understand that the administration has talked equally with both sides. You have seen President Trump engage directly with both President Putin and President Zelensky. Likewise, his national security team has as well. In fact, Special Envoy Witkoff and Secretary Rubio met with some of the Ukrainians just in the past week to discuss this very plan. And so just like you saw with respect to Israel and Gaza, we are hearing out both sides of this war to understand what can you commit to end the war. And that's ultimately how we are going to get to an agreeable solution. That's what the president has directed of his team. I know there's a lot of criticism out there and a lot of doubters, but I would just remind you of the historic success that this president and his team accomplished in the Middle East. We believe that is possible with Russia and Ukraine, and we're hoping and working very hard to achieve that. Stephen.
Could you provide a little more context on what to expect tomorrow with the Mamdani meeting? Will it be in the Oval Office?
Shoot,
or
another Mamdani question. Not good for the New York
I don't have any more details to read out for you on the meeting quite yet, Stephen.
Wow, she didn't say anything. She didn't say anything. She said New York
maybe
Post.
if it opens, we can commit to letting you in. Sure.
She said New York Post. Yeah, it's
It
dead.
came up yesterday
The
during
No New York is
confirmation
dead.
hearing for the president's pick to lead the CFTC that the CFTC currently has 0 Democrat commissioners.
Are we not going to get an
whereas
Epstein
usually
question?
It's had 2 or more. Does the president plan to appoint Democrats to financial regulators like the CFTC and SEC, or does the president feel that there shouldn't be Democrat leadership at those agencies, consistent with the administration's move earlier this year to remove Democrats from the FTC and other agencies?
I'm going to be completely honest. I haven't spoken to the president about the CFTC in quite some time, but I'm happy to check in with our presidential personnel office and see if there's any updates that we can provide you there. Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. Last week on Fox News, President Trump said that we've had a lot of problems with the French. How would you describe the current relationship between France and the U.S.?
Yeah, we're not getting an Epstein question, are we?
The relationship remains very strong.
Did she say
President
tariff?
Trump speaks quite frequently
I didn't hear that.
with Emmanuel Macron. I think they have a good working relationship. But the president is not shy to point out when he has disagreements with world leaders as well. And he's done that with respect to Mr. Macron as well. Deanna, go ahead.
Caroline, there are reports that Qatar is acting as a mediator in the Ukraine peace process. Can you confirm that, and why did the president choose that country?
I'm not going to get into further details other than what I previously shared, which I think was quite a bit of information. Brian?
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. We were talking about before, earlier in this briefing, about the president's orders. We were going back and forth about what the ad said and what didn't say. My first question is...
The ad?
The advertisement that the Senate Democrats were featured in. So my first question is, no matter what the order is, it could be to any administration official, military or otherwise, no matter if legal experts might think
talk
it's
about
legal,
illegal
does the
aliens.
president
Stop
expect
asking about
those
other
cabinet
counties.
members, administration officials to go ahead with those orders regardless
Ask
of
about Epstein.
any outside thinking or experts?
It's like they're scared to. It's either they released a memo or they're like scared to ask about it.
And to demand accountability and hold people accountable for their dangerous rhetoric. And I would just add that if this were Republican members of Congress who were encouraging members of the
terrorist
military,
rhetoric,
members of our United States government to defy orders from the president and from the chain of command,
That'd be a
this
terrorist.
entire room would be up in arms. But instead, it is the other way around, and I think that's quite telling. I'm going to let you all go because the president, excuse me, I appreciate the encouragement this morning, but this afternoon, but President Trump is about to meet in minutes with Israeli hostages who this administration freed, and so I'm going to go up to that meeting, and you will hear more about that later. Thank you.
Dang, done.
That's actually not what they said.
It's like you know what they expect. I don't know what that was at the end. But, all right. We're done with Caroline. No Epstein question is crazy. No Epstein question is insane. She ran out before someone could get into it. Well, she had to go before 2 p.m. So I guess that's the reason she had to dip. We cooked once again. Boom. $90 on the Caroline Leave It press conference. That's a dub. I had no New York. She said mayor-elect. And technically, I looked it up. Mayor-elect is a closed compound. Like, you look it up. Mayor-elect has a dash in between. But later on in the conference, she hit New York Post. So this would have been a crazy play. That would have been a 1 cent to 1,000. But she hit it. She hit New York anyway. So it is what it is. She hit Israel. That was a dub. She missed terrorist. That's fine. That's our one loss. No clean CR. That was absolutely free. She got nowhere near it. And no filibuster. She dodged at the beginning. W Caroline. Once again, I am back to being best friends with Caroline. I do want to see, is it on YouTube? This mayor-elect, just in case. Associated Press. I wonder if it's on the White House's official stream. No transcript available, but she said mayor-elect during this one. It's a dub, though. $90. Basically, through clean CR. No clean CR was the dub. $200 to make 290. That one was pretty free. I could have even sized up on that one. Anything else? That was crazy. I mean, Thanksgiving hit. That's good to know, I guess. Fairs. Fair enough. All right. That's me done, boys. Yeah, a little crazy Epstein dodge. I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder, do we have a market for when? I don't know. They're not going to, when's he going to talk about it, man? Let's see, roll call. On roll call, there's no open press for anything other than the thing today, so. I don't know. If she did like 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, I feel like she would have hit Epstein. Or hoax, but she didn't hit it at all. She dodged she dodged hoax, she dodged cockapoo, and she dodged Epstein. No one ice bets are so free. So much for transparency. All these people that lost on Epstein. Epstein's dead. No one cares. This Mexican guy is trying to get paid. Yeah, for sure. All right.